Hi Ben, great to have you on the show. So this is one of the first episodes where we are having a non-founder, right? So for people who don't know, Ben Hillman is the person who heads Paddle Studios, right? He's one of the best video creators out there in the B2B world. I think Ben took up video as a format way before video was seen as a mode through which companies can build brands. And I thought we should have a conversation with Ben, understand his workflow, understand what he does at Paddle Studios and how he got here. So welcome, Ben.
Yeah, of course. And I will transition into something that's good right here in a sec. My camera keeps getting out of focus, but you know what? That's production. That's show business. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Definitely not a founder myself. I guess I would say I was the founding video member of Profitwell before we were acquired by Paddle. So I guess you can still keep your founder streak going if you want to like use the terms like that. But really appreciate the kind words. And definitely do not do it by myself. So hopefully we can get into that as we talk.
Right. So in this episode, usually it's one-on-one videos I do with a bunch of people. Right. In this podcast, I've invited Adi as well as a co-host. Adi is all things branded today, and he's the reason why I sound cool for a lot of things that I do. So I'm very grateful to Aditya, and he's one of the best creative minds out there that I've seen. So I thought it'd be really intriguing to have him as a part of this conversation being a co-host, and that's why he's here. Welcome, Aditya.
Thank you, Ashish. And for people listening, I haven't paid Ashish to say any of that. Uh, thank
Oh,
you,
give me
Ashish.
my money back. I paid so much for that. That's crazy.
Right. So, Ben, let's start off. Who is Ben Hillman and how did Paddle happen? If you can walk us through your journey, I think that'll be a great starting point for people who don't know who you are, right from your mouth, and then we can get going.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I started making videos back in the early years of YouTube, I would say. So I guess if you go even further back, I am a I am someone who could have taken the like Hollywood path, like and gone and like into the movie business and make movies. As anyone who is in the movie business knows, it's really all about who you know. And I do come from a family of below the line folks, meaning like not movie stars or directors or anything like that. But my father just retired after about 40 years as a location manager. And so I had a very early exposure to what making movies and like film and TV and like looked like at a very, very early age. And as I just sort of got into it, I was able to kind of tap back into that well. But I very quickly realized that I really enjoyed slightly before. Actually, let me get a prop real quick. This will take 1 second. This was the first video camera that I owned personally. We had a family camera and stuff like that, but I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the like mini DV tapes, stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's where I got my start when I was in like middle school. This was like 2007, first time on YouTube. YouTube was like pretty new. Was just making videos with my friends. Found like tremendous joy. That the spark that really like did it for me was getting ideas out of my head as quickly as possible. Where it's like I would have an idea for something, and as I'm sure any creative knows, sometimes your ideas stink. Like sometimes you see the reality and it's like, okay, that actually didn't look like how I thought it would. And what I loved about using this little thing right here and making videos for YouTube is that feedback cycle was so quick. Comparatively, especially working, what people may not know about the film industry is like how long it takes to make something. And I have a great appreciation for that. Like I love films, I love cinema. I went to film school. Um, and it's a big process. It takes a lot of people to make something truly great. At the same time, it takes a lot of people and a lot of people power to make something crappy too. Like even, all the movies that you've seen, they're like, oh, that was not great. A lot of people worked really hard to make that movie. And I hope that industry stays alive. I hope it continues to find things. But sorry, bringing it back to myself a little bit, I really found that just that quick feedback cycle was something that really uh, kickstarted my interest in video. And so wanted to go to school, went to film school, but I took a bunch of classes like of just about like every process of the film world. A lot of my classmates were specialized. You know, I want to be a video editor. I want to be a camera person. I want to be a producer. Like very specific roles in the film process. Mine was like, I want to learn about everything so I can kind of know how all of these pieces work. Out of college, I got a job at a startup in Boston and started making videos for them. And then I found Profitwell shortly thereafter, started making videos for them, came over to Paddle as well. And I've skipped over a lot there, but I know I started a lot about in the beginning, heavy origin story there. Um, but yeah, now at Paddle, it's like that's really what we're all about is like how do we get the idea to execution as quick as possible without cutting so many corners that it just whittles away at the actual kernel of that initial idea.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. And how was it like when you joined Profitwell? I assume, right? Like that's why you joined. When you joined Profitwell, was videos something that they had already decided that they want to make videos and they brought you in, or was it like your idea as a part of the demand gen team saying that videos is the way to go and it's gonna blow up in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate that the luck of the universe positioned me where I was at that time. That first startup that I mentioned, I went through a round of layoffs, and so I just needed at that time it was like February, excuse me, end of January, February of the year. I had a lease that took me through August that I was like, I got to pay for this lease. And I was living in Boston and I thought, I want to go home to Los Angeles. It's where I live now. It's where I grew up. Um, and so that's all I was thinking. I was just thinking, I just need a job that'll take me to there. And as luck would have it, I got an interview at Profitwell. I also had an interview at the meditation app 10% Happier. And I ended up being able to choose between the two of them. Where I had come from a B2C, the previous startup was B2C, and 10% Happier was also B2C. And so it presented a similar challenge where it was like, okay, I'm appealing directly to consumers. However, the exciting thing about Profitwell at the time, actually at the time it was called Price Intelligently, but that's details that don't really matter to the story. It's just a fun fact. Found Profitwell, and it was an interesting proposition there. Of not only was it a challenge because it was B2B, it was a SaaS. I had never heard of SaaS before. I'm like 23, 24 at this time. And it was an interesting proposition. It was an interesting challenge. I remember in my interview, I said to Patrick Campbell, I said, I don't know what makes SaaS sexy, but I'm interested in finding out. Like that was my initial impression that I kind of left was it was like, and I even felt weird about like even just saying the word sexy of like, is he going to be, not into me saying positioning it that way? But Patrick had a very distinct vision at the time that it still like sort of lives on to this day with what we're doing at Paddle. And it just made sense at that time for me. And I was happy to fall into that situation. But yeah, video, the Profitwell was very heavily invested in video when I first started, all the way to, I've been told many a times that, and this will kind of play into a little bit of the metrics thing we talk about later, but I have been told that one of the reasons that, Profitwell was acquired for $200 million. $200 million. And one of the reasons was because of the work that we were doing on the video side. I was like, oh, that's a huge brand play. We want to like invest in that brand. And that's why I'm talking to you today. So absolutely Profitwell was very invested in video, and I'm very grateful to Patrick for taking a chance on me. And he's a visionary and knew what he was doing and invested in us a lot.
Very true. I think not a lot of founders during that time. This was what 2016, 2017, around that time.
2017. Yep. 2017.
Yeah, I don't think too many founders in the SaaS space were like, you know what, let's go into video.
Yep.
Right?
No,
Adi,
no, it
sounds a lot
wasn't.
like your
And
story.
Yeah. I agree. I think Ben and I have very similar trajectories in the sense like I also joined Togai when I was about 23, 24, and I came in as like the video guy, and
Hmm.
that's actually how I found you. Right, the first time I came across you, I was trying to make a case for why we should do a certain type of content, which was these documentary style videos, which are repurposing just like blogs, right? Why let instead of doing blogs, let's
Yep.
also do this. So I was just putting together a case study, and that's when I was trying to look for other B2B companies if they were doing something similar. That's when I found you. And I think this is one of your first videos. I forget what the name of the series is called. Verticals, if I'm not wrong.
Oh yeah, that
Is that
was
what it's called?
Verticals was post acquisition. Yeah, that was like my first series that I did like basically on my own, um, without like
Right.
Patrick helping me out. Yeah,
Very cool. That was something that I'd put together, and I was like, you know what? See, other B2B companies are doing this. This is
yeah,
enough proof for us to get started.
100%.
Ben, what excites you about the B2B? What excites you about the B2B space? Like, I understand a lot of video creators are there in the B2C space, and they see views, they see people commenting on their videos, they see there are a lot of inflection points which makes the life of a video creator in a B2C company a lot more exciting. What excites you in the B2B space?
I think it's pretty simple, at least in my view, is that I think that we tend to overcomplicate things just as people, as like, oh, this specific audience wants this specific thing, and like I do agree like with some of the notions of I have a target audience, I want to speak to that audience. I think any good marketer knows that like, hey, you got to make sure you're speaking to the right audience. I just don't see that big of a difference with B2B and B2C. Having been, played around in B2C a little bit, B2B is definitely harder, I will say. But at the end of the day, you're still selling to people. And I think if you just remember that I'm selling to a person, I'm trying to help someone else, like not help a business, not like help someone else's bottom line. I mean, definitely we use the language of like your business, deserves growth, and like we're trying to help that with our merchant of record at Paddle. We are absolutely helping businesses, um, but we appeal to people that are looking for more time to be able to spend, even just like outside of business, like being able to spend more time with your kids, being able to spend more time focusing on doing what you care about. And if what you care about is building your business, then it's like, then perfect. Like I know I'm kind of hard selling Paddle right now, but that's just kind of like how I look at B2B is it's not really that different than B2C. It's still you're still advertising, marketing to people. And what excites me about it is like I know that Ben Hillman, I'm the executive producer of Paddle Studios, which is a just fancy schmancy title that says I make the video and I lead the video team at Paddle. Um, but my job is not to necessarily solve the problems of our audience. My job is to figure out where are the answers. What are some solutions that have maybe worked before? You mentioned verticals, Adi, and verticals was an attempt to look at what has worked before or what is not working and why is that? Because I think we think of marketing in terms of, oh, there's like new wave marketing of like, oh, there's this new like AI thing that's happening. And it's like, obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about AI at some point, but it's like, there's marketing is cyclical. It's like, we go through these different, I remember when ABM was a big like thing that people wanted to do. You mean door to door marketing, like walking up to someone, like being, so I'm getting away from the point a little bit, but what excites me is that it's like there is still, it feels like there is untapped things. And I mean, I guess the other thing that excites me about B2B is that it's like I think that there are still people that don't realize that what works in B2C also works in B2B. And so it's almost like you can just learn by looking at B2C and just pull that in and be like, well, what if we did that? Uh, and that's what we try and do.
Makes a lot makes a lot of sense, Ben. Uh, Ben, now coming back to why you're here, right? Could you help us watch through the entire creative process, like from ideation to post production? I know we probably need a separate podcast just just to walk through this question. But if you can give us highlights or snippets of each step in your process, that'll be really helpful.
I'd
Yeah,
actually
I
add
mean,
like another thing on top of that, right? You worked at Profitable when it was like a very early stage startup, and now Paddle is like as big as it is now. I also want you to like let me know how is it different?
how's it different? I mean, I can answer that last bit pretty straightforward. Definitely like early days working with Patrick was like that made things very easy because it was like one person leading, like had a vision for something, and my job was to execute on that vision. The difference now is that it's like because I did that for so long, I've now earned the right to sort of like execute my own vision a little bit. And so the difference now is that there's a little more responsibility for me to kind of guide the trajectory of what we're doing. Um, no way is, there's pluses and minuses to both. But I'd just say specifically, it's more just like the difference is that I'm more advanced in my career now, basically, is the answer to that. As far as process goes, um, everything starts with, I know this is silly for me to say, everything starts with an idea. And I try to this day, I had mentioned at the beginning, how can I execute on this idea as quickly as possible? How can we just get like the version 1 of this idea? Because what we do is all about buy-in. If we don't have buy-in from the rest of the team, just internally, like we're not really going to go anywhere. We're not going to be successful if we're not getting folks internally to rally around what we're working on. It's not going to work. And so we consistently will think and think and think and work a problem until it's good. And a principle that I've kept with me since my prop world days is that feedback is non-negotiable. I encourage every single creative person to just be open to feedback that anyone at any level is giving you. And it's up to the hardest part about receiving feedback is to filter that and determine what is the truth that this person is actually getting to. Because you could show me a video and I could give you a feedback, be like, oh, like it's blurry or something like that. I'm like you mentioned, my video is blurry right now. I know I'm having all sorts of connection issues that I probably don't come through super clear right now. But the feedback that I would give on like your blurry video is not meant to criticize and make you feel bad. It's that it's your job to figure out, okay, what does Ben mean from that? Well, Ben means that like, hey, you're trying to tell a message here. I'm distracted by the blurriness of this video. And so I can't really understand. I'm not focused on the message of what this person is actually saying. And so that's where things like, there's the age old argument around quality over quantity and vice versa. And I think that the real winner of that is just like, is your message clear? And you could have a really clear message and your audio might be like, terrible and distorted and stuff. If I'm only focusing on that, then I'm not going to care about what you're actually saying. And so bringing back to like process is like, I obsess over perfectionism. I'm definitely a perfectionist. I obsess over like the finite little details, but it really all starts with that idea and getting like, okay, what are we trying to say here? What do we want to make sure is important to communicate? You mentioned, we talked before we started recording on, I asked you the question, what do you want to get out of this? Like, and that's what a question that I ask to my teammates all the time whenever there's a proposal for something like, hey, we need this intro for our webinars. Hey, we need like this, landing page that has all this sort of content here. It's like, great. What do we want to get out of this? What's the expectation here? So that I can understand we're going to go through our process, and depending on what the project is, it's going to be, I've made a YouTube short in a day. I made it in a couple hours. We're working on a video series right now that we've been working on for 3 months now. Like I don't really have a solid answer, a succinct answer for you around what our process looks like, because it's always adapting and it's always evolving. But I try and adhere to, I am always receptive to feedback. I am begging for feedback from anyone just to like be like, hey, how does this sound? What does this look like? Do you get it? Feedback is a huge one. Um, being comfortable putting something out there that maybe isn't
Ben,
completely what you anticipated, but
Ben. So the question that I was asking you was, where does this idea that you're talking about originate from? Like, does it start from the demand gen team where the demand gen team wants to tap into a bunch of accounts, and then you come up with a video concept that conveys the message very clearly, or do you just come up understanding the business? You just come up from ideas time to time. How does the idea start?
I'm not going to have a single succinct answer for you today. It's both, honestly. But we do get like an idea that'll come from demand gen or come from like our CMO or from the CEO or something like that, where it's like, hey, we want to talk to this audience. We want to make content based around this topic. Big focus for us right now is around web to app. And so we had a discussion at the end of last year around like, hey, we want to make a video series similar to what we've done in the past with Paddle Studios and at Profitwell, where we want to do a specific video series that caters to this audience. And so we went into kind of like development mode and tried to figure out what sort of show do we want to make for this. We've made, Pricing Page Teardown, I would say, is the flagship show of Profitwell and then Paddle. And so we just took that concept and was like, what does the web to app version of Pricing Page Teardown look like? And so we came up with an idea from there, which again, it started with demand gen. It started with our content team as well, where written content copywriters that we have, and then we just started developing the show. I can get into a little bit of that process, but that's like where ideas come from. Ideas basically come from anywhere.
Got it. So the starting point is usually like top down.
Yep. But I would say it. I'll work on ideas. I'll put out YouTube shorts that it's like, oh, that would be a good idea that like I just come up with. So
Right.
it comes from everywhere.
You got it. And you mentioned about pilot, right? You mentioned about getting the video in the quickest time possible. I just want to double down on that. How do you ensure that quality is there when you want to get out a video really quickly, just to show people what you're thinking and how you think you can present the idea in the format of a video?
Yeah, it's I think that pilot is. I'm not thinking, is this something I'm comfortable sharing publicly? I'm thinking, coming back to getting buy-in from the rest of the team. What is the version of this show that I am pitching to the rest of the team to get them to understand, like, hey, this is what we're going for. This is the kind of video that we want to put out there. And so Steve, my coworker, was tasked with like putting together the first version of this show. It's called Fix That Funnel. It'll be coming out in April. And he put together a pilot for the show in like a week, basically. And there was no expectation around, oh, these graphics are finalized. It didn't look like the brand. It didn't like it. There was a guest component that was missing, but it was just the first version. To be able to get buy-in from like Andrew, our CMO, saw it and was like, yes, that's like excellent. My manager Jess saw it and was like, yeah, I totally get it. Steve is really great. And Steve put this together. We were initially like pitching someone else would be the host of it, but he did such a great job with that pilot, with that first version, that we were able to see, oh, Steve could host the show. So it's just like getting that first version out there that just gets buy-in from the rest of the team.
Right. I think how detailed your MVP, your pilot video is going to look like, depends on your manager or your higher ups ability to understand like how the final version might look like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's a battle for sure. Is that like I'm not trying to keep being creative, but I do think that like people who are in a creative role who have done this a lot, like myself, like yourself, Adi, like know what the end result is going to look like because they've done it so many different times. But it's your job. I mean, it's the same thing if I were to draw you a sketch of a lion on just a Post-it note right here. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to look crappy. It's not going to look very good. But I'm just trying to prove to you that it's like, hey, I understand what a lion looks like. I will make this look good. But like, just so we're aligned, like we want to make sure the lion has like a mane. We're not, we're talking about a male lion, like not talking about a lioness, and like we need to make sure that you can see the tail. Like, okay, cool. It's just trying to figure out like, measuring the expectations as early as you possibly can of like, what are you expecting to see here, so that I know what you want, so that when I do get that final version, that you're not like, well, wait, where's the main? It's like, if I didn't show you that initial sketch, I could have shown, then the end result wouldn't have looked anything like what you thought it was.
Makes sense.
Right, Ben. So the first part you mentioned idea. Second part is putting together a pilot, and by pilot you just mean a scrappy version of putting something together so that the management understands what you want to create. So
Yep.
the pilot essentially does not go out. The world does not see the pilot. It's purely internal to get buy-ins from different people. Is my understanding right?
Yeah, and we'll get that first version. And then what we've done now, so like I mentioned, we started working on this in December, and Steve put together this pilot in a week. It was like, great. From there, it was just iterating on that pilot, going through rounds of feedback of like, hey, what should the graphics look like? What's the style of this like show? Is there a music? What does the show sound like? And it was going through that pilot. Now we're probably on like version 15 or 16 of the pilot. But it's ready to go. Like and it started with that initial idea, and we've adapted it, we've changed it over time. But you start with like that first thing, and then keep iterating, keep iterating, keep iterating. And that process could be anything like, hey, like, for example, we're working on a commercial right now, and we had the first version of that commercial done on last Friday. And every single day I've been meeting with my other coworker, Brett, and he's been making changes to that version. He has a fully exported 1 minute video. And every day we're meeting in the morning. It's like, okay, this was executed on well. This looks good. Let's change this. And then I give him a bunch of like feedback, and then he goes back and makes all those changes. And the expectation is that that'll be done this Friday. So a week, basically 2 weeks from concept to execution.
And is this and these changes that you're mentioning, is this based on feedback that you receive, let's say from the larger marketing team, or is it purely internal within your team?
It again, with every single answer, it depends. With this commercial that I just mentioned that we're going to be putting out, that is something that Andrew, our CMO, like has been giving heavy feedback on, like whenever iterations, because it's tied into a broader marketing campaign that the entire team is working on. The entire marketing team is working on. Fix That Funnel, this show, the trust is already there that it's like, oh, this is Paddle Studios' version of speaking to this audience, speaking to this web to app audience. So the feedback there is more me and Steve going back and forth on different feedback. Whereas there's like, a trailer for the show that Andrew's seen like the trailer and has been like, yeah, it looks cool, but is not going to give that nitty gritty feedback that something like this commercial that we're making requires. So it's just like, who's the key stakeholder? Who I would say up front with that pilot, like who is the person that's going to have the biggest like, thoughts, the biggest piece of feedback, because it's like closely tied to what they're working on. Figure that out up front, and then that's who you need to keep coming back to. I'm like, hey, does this look good? Is this like what you expected? That sort of thing.
Got it. And Ben, you mentioned team a couple of times in this conversation, right? So how is a creative team or a video team within a company like Paddle profit well? How is it structured, and how should it be structured for startups that want to start building a media company around their startup?
I think for startups, I would start with, who's your number one voice. With Profitwell, it was very clear that Patrick, as the founder and CEO, made sense to start with him as he was starring in all the videos. He was basically writing all the videos, and was the voice that we were trying to elevate with our content. And so you have to start with someone like that. And it could be a new hire. It could be someone when I was starting out. It could have technically been me delivering that message. But I think you want to make sure that your messenger is elevated rather than bringing in an external person in. Like starting with that founder, starting with that person that's like really sticky to the business and is going to be there. That's super important. I think going off from there, it's like my role coming in was like, okay, how do I take Patrick's message and put this like packaging around it to make sure that when it does get to the right people, that it resonates with them the most? And how do I edit it together? And so that it's like it started with me, and we grew the team where it's like there's certain skills that I'm not as good at that we had to bring in other people, whether that's like a motion graphics person, or someone who maybe is like better than me at filming, or maybe even bringing in some people who are better on camera than I was, and made more sense in that regard. So I think just starting with like, you don't even have to start with hiring a video person. If you're a founder, if you're like a solopreneur or something, just start making videos and putting stuff out there. I mean, like when you don't have that internal team to get feedback from, when you don't have that, like as large as a company as we are right now, just start with like your network, record a video that talks about, what the problems that you're trying to solve, and put it out on LinkedIn and see what people say. Like that's the best you can do. Like, and I think the biggest message that I'd like to leave people with is I don't think you're going to put something out there that people are going to remember a year from now and be like, hey, that stunk. I'm not going to do business with that person. Like, it's okay to put things out there and fail and have them fall flat on their face. And you just adapt. You learn from that, because that's what I did. There's so many videos that I have out there that I don't want any of you to see. But I put them out there. And there's some I can think of right now that I know still exist that you could find if you wanted to, that I'm just not happy about at all. There's things I've done that have been cringe, that have been offensive, that like I'm grateful aren't seeing the light of day right now. But just like
Uh,
put things
I
out
think we
there,
saw a few. I think
Adi,
we saw
didn't
a
you
few of
find
those
a
videos on
8-year-old?
Instagram.
Did you find a 8-year-old Ben Hillman video?
That is true. I did find that.
80-year-old Ben Hillman video. I don't even know which one that was. I don't even want to know.
Maybe we'll put it up on the screen. Ashish, we should do that. Maybe.
Oh man.
No,
Yeah.
no, Ben. But I like how you said. You know, so when you went when you went to Profitwell, what you did was you packaged Patrick's message in a better way, right?
Yep.
And I think that is important. That I think the main voice was coming from Patrick, who had expertise in the field. He had a point of view. So the starting point of the message was from him, right? So I think a lot of founders, the way that they look at video is, oh, okay, I'll just hire a person, and this person will do everything from scripting, what kind of message to put out, uh, uh, like the whole process, right? So I think this is the challenge. So let's say you're hired by a company, and here
Mm-hmm.
the founder or is not comfortable in front of the camera, or he doesn't have the time, or she doesn't have the time to uh, give this point of view. Where
Got it.
in the case of Profitwell, like Patrick had, he was like, this is the type of stuff that we need to be talking about. In this case, let's say the founder is not able to do that. So if you were a video person hired to do the job here, how would you go about it?
I would look at, like, let's say that this person, Acme is a example of, fake company that doesn't actually exist. So let's say Acme is hiring me, and they have a CEO that this person is not interested in being on camera. This person is still going to be delivering messages somewhere and talking about the problem. Like if every company is trying to solve a problem, they're going to be speaking about that problem somewhere. So even if they don't want to be on camera, where they have like, are they on sales calls where they're delivering a consistent message? Are they delivering statements in like an all hands? Are they, I know this is sort of antithetical, but are they going to conferences where they're speaking about this problem and giving talks? And I would look at, okay, what is being out there already? What messages are being sent, even if it's just, like tweets or LinkedIn statements or something. What are they talking about right now that I can then package into something and make something that's just digestible in a different way? Because like that's all we'll really do. Everyone at Paddle is talking about the same thing of like the world needs more. The world needs a merchant of record. That's what we're all talking about. Every single thing you see from us is different variations of that same message, just packaged in different ways. And so I'm just looking for, where are the sources right now? what's working, what's resonating with people, even if it's just a response to an email that it's like, hey, I get it. Yeah, that's like, yeah, we'll sign the contract. We'll be your customer. Like that message really worked for me. Obviously, it's not going to be as explicit as that, but just what are the signals? What are the signals that are already out there that are happening? And then we just build the campaign off of that, whether it's a video series, a podcast, a couple videos, one video. When I first started at Profitwell, I came in kind of like, I know developers do this, and I had like a project that I had to do in order to get hired. It was like, hey, Patrick did this talk, turn it into a video. Like it was like a recorded version of his talk. And I just like created, I think it was like a trailer or something for a series or something. And so it's just like repackaging that, making it look different and presenting it out there. Cause that's my whole job, is just kind of like imagine what this could look like and then try to do the best of my ability to create that.
Love that. I think I faced a very similar challenge when I joined Taway, and I did the same thing that you said. I went and listened to all the sales calls, and I was like,
Yep.
okay, fine. This is a message that we need to be packaging and putting out there. So I was just curious to see how you would go about it.
Ben, you mentioned what words, right? So I think it's a good point to get into, like, what are the metrics that you look into to determine what success or failure of a show, of a video, what looks like. So what do you look into?
Yeah. I mean, this is where I do have a simple answer, and I can extrapolate more, but I would say that the conversation that we are having right now is proof that it's working. Uh, I've been approached by other people to do podcasts like these before, and they're constantly looking at like, oh, like you're putting a message out there and it's resonating, and we want to learn from you. Um, that right there is a very good signal that it's like, okay, other companies are looking at what we're doing and they're thinking like, oh, we should be doing that. Um, and to get like more in minutia, when you do a show, like, so that's a big, huge thing, is just like having these conversations. I'm like, okay, this is working somehow. To get more specific, uh, when we've created shows, we talked about audience briefly before. We try to make it for a specific audience, and 9 times out of 10, that audience aligns with our target customer as well. Um, and what you find when you do that is, I'm trying to just like, uh, you'll see a air conditioner repair YouTube channel where it's like, hey, here's how you repair your air conditioner, and they can do that for you. But by making this video, they're establishing trust where it's like, hey, if you can't afford us or anything like that, here's how you go about this. Like, yeah, we can do it for you like the right way, and it'll cost you money, of course, but like that's, you know, in exchange for services, like that's what we provide. And so as far as like tracking metrics and that sort of thing, it's like, we're trying to make content that explains exactly what we do from the problem that we're solving on the product side. But it's like, look, if you want to do it yourself, you can. Here's the different things you got to make sure that you like cover. Go with God. You've got this. And what we do that way, it's the same thing with air conditioner repair YouTube person. It's like we're establishing that trust that you can do this, and we know what we're talking about. And when we see people like signing up for an email list, or if we see our views increase, of course, I'm tracking vanity metrics like views, engagements, and conversions. And if I see like, oh, I'm putting these like YouTube videos out, and then we have this self-reported attribution, when someone requests, I think it's when they talk to sales, it's like, how did you hear about us? We see people mention YouTube, and they're just saying YouTube in general, so that's like not super helpful. Um, but we can also use tools like we use Hockey Stack, and it's like we have a dashboard set up where I can see how many deals were closed by people that visited a page where one of our videos exists just once, at least once. And I'm never going to put a video out there and be able to say like, hey, the video that I made, that's what closed the deal. However, when we did pricing page teardown, there were certainly companies that we talked about who saw the video of us tearing down their pricing page and then got on a sales call with us. And I'm pretty sure became customers from that. because it's like they saw us, you know, not being super nice and tearing down, be like, hey, the way that they're setting this up is not great. But then when we put that out there and they saw it, like they got on a sales call with us. And so I've given you a smattering of things, but those are the things that I look at.
You know,
No,
when
this
I
definitely. Yeah, go ahead, Adi.
so I was just wondering. So yeah, let's take the case of this person who self-reports. They found you guys through YouTube, right? From the day that I don't know if you probably have this number like off the top, but let's say from the day that you guys started YouTube, posting on YouTube, how, how long did it take for you for like the first person to show up and say, you know what, I found you guys through YouTube? And the reason I ask that is because I feel like things like video, it takes time to show. And I think most people
Yeah.
like maybe they put out like a single series, or maybe they start a podcast. They do like 10 to 15 episodes, and they're like, you know what, this is not working. We're not seeing any leads. We're not seeing any touch points for people, like you said. Um, so I think this is not working. So let's just shelve it. So how long? So what is a good time frame to have in mind to see if this is a success or not?
I don't have an answer for that, honestly. And I'm not trying to be cagey and like, oh, there's a real answer. Like, I don't have an answer for you on that because what more so than like metrics, like I don't have a quota on the number of views or number of like conversions that we get on our videos. I mentioned before that there was this belief when we were acquired for $200 million that one of the reasons that we were acquired was because of what we were doing. And
Mhm.
it's because when we go to conferences, when we talk to people, like they're saying, like, we love your content, we love what you do. And it's about establishing that trust and being that, like, coming back to the air conditioner example again. People need to see what you're doing and trust that you know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be, in my experience, I've been doing this for like almost 10 years now. You can't really track it down to like a number or like,
Right.
where I am absolutely, I don't want to like avoid your question completely. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, and we are actually actively right now. I have a coworker that has a lot of things going on, but he is working on figuring out, like, hey, these people that are doing self-reported attribution, are they MQLs? Like, are they qualified leads or not? Are they becoming customers? Like, we're trying to figure out those answers for sure. But wrapped up
Yeah.
into that is like, I know that it's not just people that are filling out self-reported attribution that we're having touch points with. You know, I could put out a video on our YouTube channel, and you may not even realize that the reason that like that was one of the reasons that got you to be familiar with paddle. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't really have a good answer for that, honestly, but I'm not worried about it.
Okay, got it. So I think as marketers we don't. But how do you convince leadership? So obviously they're going to be like, so we're investing all this amount, all this money in production and like hiring people and all of this. I get, as marketers we get that a lot of like the success metrics are qualitative. How would you prove that to leadership?
How would I prove that advertisement
This
on a
is working.
bus?
Yeah.
How would I
Hmm.
prove that an advertisement on a bus is working? How would I prove that like a billboard that you see when you're walking down the street is working? I don't know, but I know it's in a visible spot that we can prove it. We could, we could ask people on the street like, "Hey, did that work?" And I know there's people that
Hmm.
do this, and like billboards have been around, forever. Or like a television ad, like something that's showing on if you have an ad in the Super Bowl, like yeah, you're probably gonna be able to see that like oh sales increase or something like that. But
Right.
unless you do like a focus group, you're not really gonna
Hmm.
know what made people click on that. Like was it just because there was like an intent, like oh you made this interesting ad and that it brought them over. I
Yeah.
just would ask that board to just have some trust that it's like marketing is not a new thing. And we've been doing this for a
Mhm.
long time. And we've been doing it for a long time and not actually knowing what the absolute impact is. Uh, I mean, like, maybe it sounds a little bit defiant, but it's like I think there's a lot of things that companies are doing that don't actually track the success metrics, but there's just a trust that that is working. We know that people pay attention to their phones. We know that people are looking at LinkedIn and watching videos. Like we want to own that space. And that may just come from a conversation that like our CMO Andrew has with someone at a conference right now. He's in Chennai right
He's in
now at
Chennai. I,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Growth Summit. And he's having conversation with people, and I guarantee you that some people have said to him, like, "Oh, love your videos," or something like that. And it's
Mm.
an open-ended thing, but like
For sure.
that's what I do is I'm trying to put this stuff out there so that eventually it comes back around and people are like, "Oh, great, come on my podcast. We'd love to know. We hear great things about you. We trust you. Great."
Yeah, for sure. I think at Toge we did something very similar, right? We started a series where we would configure a company's billing, their pricing on our billing platform
Yeah.
before a particular song ends, just to tell them, hey, you can do this before like 6-7 minutes, and within 6-7 minutes you'll be able to like do this. And this was like a fun social media series that we posted on LinkedIn. And for the first few episodes, we nothing, right? We got maybe 10 likes, 7 likes, 6 likes, whatever. People would comment, but that'd be like 1 or 2 people. Until maybe a month or so in, we had a sales call with this huge company, right? And they were actually sold to, they were actually bought, but they were acquired by another company for like billions of dollars. And these guys on the call, they'd mentioned about the videos that they'd seen, and it was like it wasn't working. We had no idea that it was working until all of a sudden it did. Uh, So yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and I think the bottom line or takeaway from this for people is to just give things time. And
Yeah.
half of the things is to say, half of the ways to like see if it's working or not is qualitative.
100%.
That's one thing, but also you need a manager slash CMO or whoever it might be who understands and believes and trusts in the process.
Yeah.
Yep.
Without that, it would be very hard if there aren't metrics to show. Like one of the metrics that Ben mentioned is people self-reported attribution, right? Like people saw your
Yeah.
video, mentioned in a sales call. That really helps. But apart from that, yeah, I think today it's a black box on how we can define whether things are working.
Are you getting a lot of like views on YouTube? Like that's one thing for sure. But like I would even argue is like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of views increase right now. Like I know, for
Uh-huh.
example, when we make YouTube
Mm,
shorts and we make them frequently, our views go up. But how do I
mm.
know that those people are then coming and eventually being customers of Paddle? I don't. Um,
Yes, quickly, just talking about distribution, Ben. So,
yeah.
where do you get most of your traffic from Paddle Studios from? Is it through SEO? Is it through brand? Like, like, what is the form of distribution that you guys do around your videos as well?
Uh, Distribution on, having an employee advocacy tool, like we use Sprout Social. That's not a promotion for them. That's just the tool that we use. Um, uh, Having something like that, having internal channels that encourage folks, like, and if you have that buy-in from the people at your company, like, hey, this is important, this works. You just have to trust that it, again, coming back to the metrics thing, like, you just have to trust that it works. Um, we've seen that it works. We've gotten this qualitative feedback, especially if it comes from like the CEO or the C-suite. Um, we'll post on YouTube. Uh, Understanding too that when you post like promotion on social to like, hey, come to paddle.com/studios to watch this, the algorithm may not like that. And so being comfortable with that zero click content, posting things on there that are just like, hey, here's a snippet from this thing. You're getting the full context like within this thing. If you want more, it's available over here as well. Great. So social, we definitely use email to distribute as well. Yeah.
And how much budget do you allocate between creation versus distribution?
How much do we allocate creation to distribution? I would say more on the creation side of things, for sure. I don't have an exact number for you. I can tell you that there's myself, there's 2 people working under me, on my team, on the creation side, and then we have, our typical DG teams and, marketing and partnership folks that, like, help out with that distribution for sure.
Got it. Got it. Was Are there any last questions for Ben?
No, I think I'm good.
Got it. Thank you so much for your time, Ben. It was lovely having you on GTM Talk. Next time we should have a longer conversation. But it was
Yeah,
great having you. Thank you so much.
absolutely, happy to help.